there's this feeling, I guess, of like when you've got a new game and like no one knows what's in it yet, and people haven't
Exactly.
like optimized it to the nth degree, and like everyone's just able to just go in there. Like no one knows, no one can tell you what the meta build is. No one can
Yes.
tell you like what
Yeah.
the like what the best thing to do is, and like it's just a matter of discovery. Like there's this kind of like golden period of a game when it first comes out that you kind of get there. And honestly, like that is so exciting to me, is just that feeling of like discovery and like all of that, that moment. And of course, anyone can technically get that by just not reading guides and all
Right.
that stuff, and just playing the game. But at the same time, like when there are no guides, everyone's just everyone is as much of a noob as you are. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel that again.
Moana Exile's Talkative Try back with another Path of Exile 2 video. Today we are going to be talking about why earlier access would harm, not help, Path of Exile 2. And this is all in light of what's been coming out regarding the Diablo 4 expansion, the Vessel of Hatred. But it's not alone with Diablo. This happens to a lot of different games, wherein not just the press get early access to the game, but content creators do as well. And I'd argue that this is overall a net negative for the game and the audience. Now, I know that I think that this is a nuanced issue. Some people see it as black and white. I don't think it is. And I do not fault any of the content creators who took that opportunity to go and play the game early. Honestly, it would be dumb of them not to take the chance. But I think it's overall an L for everyone else. And really, at the end of the day, them too. And that is what this video is going to lay out. Before we get too deep, if you end up liking the video, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to see more PoE2 and overall ARPG content just like this, to hit the subscriber button too. Thank you all for your support. Okay, so what's happening? Overall, Blizzard and the Diablo 4 developers allowed select D4 content creators to blast the expansion for 100 plus hours, letting them record footage and then post full content guides and videos 3 full days before the expansion even drops. Other games have done this too, and like I said, this is not a D4 specific problem, but since Diablo 4's expansion releases soon and Path of Exile 2's early access does too, I figured we could lay out why earlier access is going to harm everyone here. Now, not only content creators were allowed to do this, but the press were as well. But that is a historic precedent, and I'm going to tell you why that's generally okay. Let's talk about the different access types first. And we have press access. First of all, this is a basic build of the game, usually for a review video or article that does not deep dive. It's a broad insight into the game itself. The story isn't usually spoiled, and this is invite only. The press here usually only make, like I said, one piece of content on it, and it overviews the entire game. There's not guides on everything. It doesn't do a deep dive on balance and class discussions. It's just, hey, is this game good? Here's a number on whether or not it's good or not, and here are the justifications beside said number. There's not much else besides that. Then there's content creator early access, which is a basic build of the game. You're allowed to blast, record a ton of footage, and decipher all the best launch classes, launch strategies, and how to take down the new launch content too. Again, the story is almost never spoiled here, and this is invite only. I'd like to stress launch here because yes, things will develop as time goes on, new things will be discovered, but this earlier access gives them a tremendous advantage over everyone else, and we'll lay out why later. Then we have the early access head start, which is available to people who buy a certain tier of whatever game. It's the full game, and this is a period anyone can buy into, and it usually lasts 3 days to a week. This happened with Guild Wars 2 on launch, where people had a head start. This happened with Diablo 4, and this has happened with numerous other games. And then here's the game that I know most of you care about most, Path of Exile 2 and its early access. This is available to anyone who would like to buy it. It'll also have people invited based on prior spend in Path of Exile 1 and possible random giveaways. This will last 6 months to a year or longer, and it's more like a massive extended beta period. It's not a brief point of time, and I think some people might still be confused about that. I'm trying to stress here, this early access is not like the others. It's more similar to Baldur's Gate 3's early access period. Okay, now that we've laid out all the different early access definitions, let's look at the different points of view here broken down by viewers, content creators, Blizzard themselves, the press, and one other party. Start with the viewers. The game is now spoiled for them. The game is already initially solved. Players who watch this content will have an advantage, or in a multiplayer game, expect others they're playing with to have watched it. They're introducing raids into this game. There are full raid guides out already for Diablo 4, for example. And people are going to go into the raids with randoms, and many of them will probably expect others to already know how the raid plays out because there's content out there about it. This goes for the broken classes, the broken interactions, fighting various quests and events and monsters and all the like. Now, the easy solution here, and this is one that I preach it so hard, is to just not watch the content and play the game for yourself. For a game like Diablo 4, this is easily what the majority of players will be doing, but everyone here on the internet who sees all this in their feeds, who is participating in discussions about the game, they are without a doubt going to have to step away from all that or have themselves spoiled heavily. Their golden age, which we'll talk about soon, will completely be gone. This corrodes the early era of discovery for everyone without a doubt, and it sucks. Even though viewers can just choose not to click on the video, not to click on the article, and not watch it. Now, for content creators, this is a huge monetary advantage most of the time. The select creators who get into this earlier access can make tremendous guides and pump out everything that people will be searching for long before other unselected creators get a chance to do so. Of course, they can choose to just not participate, but it is a ridiculous opportunity to pass up, especially if this is their livelihood. Like I said at the top of the video, I do not fault or blame any creator who chose to go into this and the slightest. This, I think, starts from the top. For Blizzard, this is a huge marketing opportunity in their eyes. Videos will be across the internet about Diablo 4 for more than 3 days before launch. It will turn some people off, but will likely bring in many people who were unaware about the expansion in the first place. It builds that trust with their trusted partners, and of course, it allows them to snuff out any bugs that they've seen early in the access. I know some people think that GGG has done this already with Path of Exile 2 because of the events that I've gone to, but I'll address that later in the video. Now, the press point of view. This is something that has always been done for the press, but they do not go hard and create guides for absolutely everything. They just do a summary of the game and give it a score and should you buy or should you not buy it articles. That's it. I think that's totally fine. It's very different from what content creators do, wherein they make tier lists and leveling guides and raid guides and what items to find, what abilities to use. They basically solve the game before anyone gets the chance to solve it for themselves and puts everyone not watching that content at a disadvantage. I've never really felt advantaged by reading a press article on a game. All right, now I'm bringing in an opinion from the developers of Path of Exile 2, Grinding Gear Games, and Jonathan Rogers specifically. Their approach, per most of their PoE1 releases and what they've planned thus far for Path of Exile 2, has gone against the earlier access for content creators idea. They think the best part of a new game's release, the golden era, is discovery for everyone. Jonathan Rogers said that what he's looking forward to most is sitting in on streams or in the global chat of PoE2 and watching people discover Path of Exile 2 for the first time. Here's a direct clip of it from my first interview with him.
It's like there's this feeling, I guess, of like when you've got a new game and like no one knows what's in it yet, and people haven't like optimized it to the nth degree, and like everyone's just able to just go in there. Like no one knows, no one can tell you what the meta build is. No one can tell you like what the like what the best thing to do is, and like it's just a matter of discovery. Like there's this kind of like golden period of a game when it first comes out that you kind of get there. And honestly, like that is so exciting to me, is just that feeling of like discovery and like all of that just that moment. And of course, anyone can technically get that by just not reading guides,
right?
And all that stuff, just playing the game. But at the same time, like when there are no guides, everyone's just everyone is as much of a noob as you are. You know what I mean? Like everyone can just go in and try stuff and find uniques and like, oh wow, I found this one and that has all these implications. Like there's just an awesome period there. So I wouldn't want to spoil things to the point where everyone felt like they already knew what the game was before the point when it actually came out. So
awesome.
I'm really hoping there'll be a special time when the beta comes out, when everyone can play like through the game. There's all these uniques that they've never seen before and all that stuff like that. I'm hoping that that's going to be a really golden period of like just a lot of fun. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, that moment, and I'm looking to be like forward to being there as well, and just being in chat and just like playing the game with everyone, and you know all that stuff like that. So that's really fun. And I remember, like, I just remember how awesome that was when we first did it back when PoE 1 came out. You know, it's I want to feel that again.
I'd say this goes against the idea of having content creators play and solve the initial game first entirely, and I hope PoE2 does not take the earlier access approach in the slightest. PoE2 should not have earlier access, period, to preserve this golden era for as long as possible. Allow people the time to discover all the cool interactions, the wild, unique items, and fight the bulk of the bosses for the first time without any chance of spoilers. In very short order, the Golden Age will fade away as the internet is bombarded with content about the game. Well, that's until the next content expansion when the Golden Age will return. I know some people say they've already broken this by inviting people like myself to at least 2 events to play PoE2, but our experience there was different. We played a much earlier build. We had limited access, and it was at an event. Everything recorded needed to be approved and monitored. We didn't have free reign at our homes, on our own setups. It was a very different experience. So what are the solutions here, not only for Path of Exile 2, but the greater gaming industry? Well, I think it starts from the top. The developers just shouldn't do it. They should allow gamers, creators to all discover the game on day one together. The people who are under NDA and doing those closed beta or early beta testing periods, they won't be able to contribute to that. They'll all be on the same footing. They'll have to record all the footage starting day one. They'll have to craft all the guides with the latest balance. They'll have to fight the bosses with the newest changes all on day one. This starts from the top. The developers should not allow this to happen. It is a choice with most the impetus and most the responsibility on the developers themselves. Once again, this does not just go for Blizzard. This goes for any developer out there. I really don't like the content creator early access period only, where you're only invited and then you get to post a ton of stuff beforehand. It just does not sit well with me. And it's very unfortunate that some developers do push this. Solution number 2 is content creators just don't participate. And this is a terrible thing. I think this is the worst solution out there. Any content creator who gets invited into this, I mean, you would have to be dumb to not accept it. Seriously. Or you need to have a very strong moral compass. If you don't agree with it, then you say, no, I'm not going to accept it, even if your livelihood depends on it. Especially for smaller content creators who get this opportunity, they're probably going to take it because they see it as a huge opportunity, not only for their channel, but to provide value to their audience. I think that's what a lot of content creators are trying to do with this, and they probably succeed many of the times, but they also take away the most special period of a new game releasing. And then solution number 3, viewers, just don't watch this content. If you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch it. And I know that is easier said than done, and I know for the reasons I outlined earlier on in the video, not watching it isn't a great solution because there's a good chance other people will watch it and you'll be talking to those other people, or you'll be playing with those other people, especially in a multiplayer game that has content that relies on you cooperating with other players to complete it. A very unfortunate circumstance we're all in. You can just look at World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2, really any game with raids in it, wherein there are complex mechanics and you have to rely on others. If you don't educate yourself on said content before, you are likely going to cause a lot of conflict, and that sucks. Many of us do not play games, especially games like Diablo 4, Path of Exile 2, Last Epoch, to be in conflict with other players. At the very least, we just want to play with other players and have fun. Most people want to play these games solo, right? So this is a very new type of experience entering into the ARPG genre. And I think the fact that all of it is solved before release and not a lot of people will consume that content, it's not gonna be great. Truly, of these 3, only one looms high above the rest. Developers not taking this approach with their games. So in conclusion, this sucks. And to those of you wondering if I would do this for Path of Exile 2, I would not. But that is because my content is very, very, very different compared to a lot of other content creators out there. I don't do a lot of guides. I don't do a lot of builds yet. I take on a more, like people say, video essay-ish or news-ish approach. I don't think early access would necessarily benefit me, and I already think it's kind of slimy just a little bit from the developer's perspective. So I don't think that I would participate. But again, I'm not in the position that a lot of these other content creators are in. And I think if I was making guides, was making builds and all that sort of stuff, and I was offered it, I probably would take the opportunity. And that's just me telling the truth. Like the video if you liked it, and sub to the channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.